Hey everyone, Zion here from Nintendo Life, and today we're at the Louvre doing some Nintendo 3DS video game hunting. Wish me luck. I've been making videos with Nintendo Life for over 3 years now, which is pretty weird to say out loud. But even though I've been here, been a part of the team for so long, I've never had the chance to meet any of my coworkers, the people that I talk to every week. Sure, we send emails, we chat online, and we do video calls here and there, especially for discussions. But for the most part, I haven't really met any of our consistent team over the past 3 years. And part of that is due to the fact that the world hasn't really been normal, I would say. And the other large part of that is the fact that I'm based in North America, and the rest of our team is mostly based in Europe. And it's not as easy to just hop across the pond, as much as I wish it was. But finally, an opportunity popped up. Our contributing writer, Austin, reached out to my partner, Fallon, and I to see if we would be interested in going to Europe, to the UK specifically. And of course, it's been something I've been wanting to do since I joined the team. So before we knew it, we hopped on a plane, and then we hopped on another plane for 9 hours, I think it was. And almost like magic, we were in the UK. We were in London. Now, anyone who knows me will know that I am an incredibly sappy human. So meeting a lot of these people that I've grown to love and know online was an incredibly special experience. I finally got to meet Alex. Felix came along on this trip as well. I got to meet our directors. A few of our writers came out to say hey too. It was super special. We had the chance to sort of bum around London and see the sights. We went bowling. I did terrible, and that was really hard for me because growing up, I bowled a lot. I bowled in a bowling league, but it was weird because they didn't ask us to use special shoes, and I couldn't find a bowling ball that had fingertips. But our friend Paul actually commissioned this insanely detailed Nintendo Life trophy. And even though I didn't happen to be the one to bring it home, I'm glad that it went to the most deserving, the best bowler of the day, Harry. You'll get him next time, Ollie. We also went to MCM, which is a massive comic book convention that takes place in London. And there were a bunch of people there cosplaying as video game characters. There were a few video game booths as well. And we just kind of messed around. It was a lot of fun.
So let's say Breath of the Wild 2 is cancelled. What game could make up for that, in your opinion?
A video game adaptation of the hit Marvel film Morbius.
So what do you think about those Silent Hill rumors?
Where have you been? It's been 15 years.
I don't like that.
Fern, can you tell us your favorite Nintendo character? Wolf Link, you said. Okay, understood. This is Fern, we're at MCM, and this is Nintendogs.
Now, there's something, though, about this trip that surprised me in the best way possible. And it's something that I was kind of prepared for. You know, I was excited to do this, but I wasn't expecting it to hit me in the way that it did. And that was the simple act of shopping for video games, browsing for games. If you are someone from the region that qualifies as North America, especially if you're someone who goes out for games often, you could be genuinely surprised by what you can find over there. And the spoils themselves are only a fraction of what actually made it so magical. So let me explain. I had the pleasure of going on 2 individual video game shopping trips or hunting excursions with Felix and John Cartwright. The majority of our video game shopping spree was spent at CEX video game stores, which stands for Computer Entertainment Exchange, and not what you may think. And the funny thing is, I actually made a tweet asking some people where they would recommend that I go shopping in London, and so many people over and over again kept saying to not go to CEXs because they're all garbage and they smell bad. And speaking of, we actually did go to one that had a pretty disgusting smell, but it was just one. And not every location had the best selection. I will say that I still found a lot of crazy cool stuff just at a standard CEX, which is kind of like the equivalent of GameStop or EB Games. Now, I actually had a shopping list of games that I was trying to find on this entire trip. I was looking for Disaster Day of Crisis, which was a Wii title, another Code R, which was a Wii sequel to Trace Memory from the DS, which we never got another Code R here in the US at all. There were a ton of 3DS titles that we got digitally in the US, but never physically, like Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers, Rhythm Heaven Megamix, or Rhythm Paradise Megamix is what it's known as in Europe. And then like Picross 3D 2 got a physical release in Europe as well. So in turn, I was on a mission. I had specific games that I was trying to find. And having a treasure list of games to look for is pretty exciting. And I'll say the first few CEXs that we went to were kind of a bust for me. Like I definitely did find a few games, but they weren't ones that were on my list until I found out that CEX actually has a website that you can use to browse for games, and you could find exactly what locations may have the games that you're looking for. And GameStop in the US does the same exact thing, so I found the exact stores that had the games that I was looking for. Now, sadly, I didn't get a ton of the games that were on my list, but I did find this Teddy Together game, which is a Bandai Namco / Nintendo published like teddy bear simulator game, like think Nintendogs, but you have a teddy bear. I also got Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers. I got another Code R like I was really hoping. And then I got Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training for Nintendo Switch, which released digitally here, but never physical. Mine sadly does not have the cool Switch stylus, but it was only 15 pounds, so I didn't feel too bad about that. And that's the other thing that's worth mentioning here, is that a lot of the games that I found actually seemed relatively cheap. They were fairly affordable, especially in comparison to what you would find prices for in the US here. I found Professor Layton and the Curious Village complete in box for £4, and the US version normally goes for about 15. And then I found Picross DS for £2, and that goes for about 10. But then I found this game on the shelf for GameCube called Castleween. And I'd never heard of that title before, but the characters on the cover looked incredibly familiar. And it turns out this is actually a game called Spirits and Spells. At least that's what it's called in the US. And I paid £20 for this game, which was about $24. Plus, I think there was a bit of a credit card fee that I paid as well. So let's just say I paid potentially $30 for this game. But in comparison, a North American complete in box version of Spirits and Spells, which is the same game, on price charting at the time of recording is $180. Now, I don't know what's up with this game. Maybe they just made way less copies in North America. It does have a much better cover in North America as well, and maybe just us Americans are crazy. I don't get it. But I paid less than a fifth of what it would cost me if I were to try to buy this game in the US. But I want to warn you, some systems are region locked. So for some games, you'll have to jump through a few extra hoops. Take the GameCube, for example. I own an action replay device, which has a built-in freeloader, which is basically a piece of software that allows you to bypass the region check that's built into a system. So once I got home, I popped my action replay into my GameCube, I swapped out the disc and put Castleween in, and unfortunately, no matter what TV I seemed to play it on, I would either get no picture, I would get an incompatibility screen, or I would get a black and white image that was basically unplayable. And the thing that I completely overlooked is the fact that a lot of PAL region games back in the day were made in 50 Hz, where in North America and Japan, they were made in 60 Hz. And TVs in North America just don't know what to do with a 50 Hz image. Now, I've read online that there are some ways that if you have a modded system or if you have a TV that has some special settings, you might be able to tweak some things and get a game running. And there are actually a lot of PAL GameCube games that have the option to display in 50 or 60 Hz, but I'm thinking that Castleween is not one of them. Our old pal John Cartwright actually did a video on 50 Hz versus 60 Hz games over on Good Vibes Gaming, so I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to go check that out. So I tried playing Castleween on my GameCube with AV cables, component cables, my HDMI cable through my GameCube Eon HD adapter. I even read my GameCube its favorite bedtime story. And I did that all on my flat screen and it didn't work at all. It just would not detect the signal. The action replay worked, but whenever it tried to shift to Castleween, it wouldn't work. And I also tried my AV cables and my component cables on my Toshiba CRT classic tube monitor as well. And that's where I at least got the black and white image, but like I said, it was unplayable. Now, I also tried to play this on my Wii as well through both of those same methods, and I was able to get the action replay to boot up, but it wouldn't get past that. Like, Castleween just wouldn't start at all. I don't know what was going on. The disc is really scratched, so maybe that's it. I don't know. I was really bummed out when all this went down. But there is a silver lining in all of this. Since I capture a lot of gameplay footage with Nintendo Switch and other consoles for work, I own a capture card. So I plugged my GameCube into my Elgato HD60S capture card using my Eon GCHD Mark II HDMI adapter, and I actually had gameplay up on my screen. And while this was cool, it wasn't perfect, as it meant I was going to have delay since I would have been playing the game through my capture software. But the output of my capture card was actually set to my computer monitor, and it turns out that was able actually to process the 50 Hz GameCube image. So through a lot of headache, I finally found a way to actually get this game working. So if you decide that you're going to try to play any PAL-related GameCube games in North America, like I said, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, but not every system is this complicated. Nintendo DS games, I think, may have regions set to them, but the systems themselves are actually region-free. So if you end up buying any PAL-related or Japanese-related Nintendo DS games and you want to play them on your North American system, there's nothing stopping you. Now, 3DS games are a different story. You either have to have the correct region system, or if you're cheeky and you have a modded 3DS, you can bypass the region check that way. But if you make a mistake, you could brick your system. Or you can just do what I did, and I bought a European Nintendo 3DS. This is a first-generation Nintendo 3DS model. I didn't have mine anymore. I traded my blue one in a long time ago to get the XL model. And the cool thing about this one is in North America, they actually didn't make white Nintendo 3DS systems. So this was really cool to bring home, and it was in really nice shape. Now, they did sell this to me with a UK region Nintendo 3DS adapter, which will not work in North America. I guess unless if I have some adapter, then maybe sure. But the nice thing is you can actually use a North American Nintendo 3DS charger with this system just fine. I've already charged it up and played a few games in it. It's been great. Now, unfortunately, if I had an issue with it and I had to return it, I'd be kind of screwed because I'm not in Europe anymore. But like I said, the system was really clean, so I didn't worry too much, but that's something to keep in mind. Now, I spent 10 years of my life working video games retail. I worked 3 years at GameStop and about 7 years at a local mom and pop video game trading card store. And I've also been playing and collecting video games for the majority of my life now at this point. So when I walk into a store here in North America, I'm usually not too surprised by the selection that I see because I feel like I've kind of seen almost every video game at least once. Like, I don't know, even like the rarest stuff, just like it's really cool to see, but it doesn't really, that spark of excitement, I don't really get that anymore because I usually don't always have the money to buy whatever it is that they're trying to sell it for. Unless if I get lucky and have some trade-in, I don't know, but I just don't get as excited browsing a game store shelf anymore. But in the UK, that was completely different, and a large part of that is the fact that, kind of like Castleween, there are so many games that have completely different titles or different covers, or there are games that we just never got here that I've never heard of in my life. Like this Rayman and Rabbids Family Pack came out on the 3DS. It includes Rabbids Rumble, which I have no idea what that is, Rayman Origins, and then Rabbids 3D. All three of these games on one cartridge. And I was blown away. After I bought this, I realized there's an actual Rabbids AR card in here, which I'm going to mess with right now and then put it on camera. Wow, look at that. It's a real Rabbid. I also found things I've never seen before, like this Kira Kira Pop Princess. I'm thinking this is like a rhythm game and not like a style savvy game. I could be completely wrong, but I will find out. But the cool thing was I was just kind of rolling the die on it. It was £2, which at the time of this video translates to like $3. So it didn't feel like I was taking a big risk on it. It was just like, yeah, sure, I'll get that. This game's called Monster Puzzle. It looks like Bejeweled, but with monsters up top, kind of like a Puzzles and Dragons thing. But before that game came out, I don't know anything about it, or maybe it did come out in the US and I just have no idea. But then I also bought things like this We Wish You a Merry Christmas. It's just a bunch of mini games themed around Christmas. And I know we did get a Christmas themed game in here in the US, but I don't know if this is the same one. And it just looked so bad. So like for £2, like sure, why not? But the crown jewel of weirdness for me is definitely Cheggers Party Quiz. I can't remember if I've heard Scott the Woz talk about this or who it was on the internet, but I think Cheggers is like a quiz show in Europe that's really popular or kind of popular. Someone can let me know in the comments below, but the cover is just so strange. And for $1.50, it had to come home with me. So that's how that went down. And then I also found this Wii Points card box. This is a boxed Wii Points card. Now in the US, Wii Points cards got sold in like these plastic clamshell cases, and I think they also were sold in just like a paper form, like on on like a rack. But in Europe, they sold them in these plastic cases. They have like full like instruction manuals. There's also a little booklet in here that advertises games that you can buy for the Wii, like Wii Sports, which is hilarious because that's a packing title. And all of the other games advertised in here are physical only games. None of them can be bought on the Wii Shop channel, but it's included in this box. And the best part of all of this is that it came with a paper Wii disc. And this is garbage. This is not something that you should put in your system at all. You should keep this far away from it. But I wonder how many kids unknowingly put this in their system because they thought it was a good idea, and then now their Wii is broken. Maybe I'll get bonus points if I put this in my Wii. Nintendo of Europe, what were you thinking? And then it still comes with just a standard Wii Points card that has a code that you scratch off. Like, I don't get it. The disc could have had the code on it. That would have made way more sense. It would have saved some paper, but nope. Ugh. This is the kind of magic. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. You will just, if you're a big gamer, if you're somebody who collects a lot and loves Nintendo or just video games in general, you'll just see things that completely blow your mind. There were a lot of things that I saw that I wanted to buy, but we only had so much room to bring stuff back with us, so I had to be a little careful, and the wallet isn't infinite. Now in the States here, another really cool place to try and find video games are pawn shops. But in Europe, they call them cash converters, or at least I think maybe cash converters is like a chain of stores, but basically it's another place that people can take their goods and sell them. And sadly, they didn't have a ton of cool stuff. That is where John got me the Wii Points card, so that's pretty rad, and I think he bought a PlayStation 1 game, but other than that, we didn't really see anything we were interested in. But I have heard some amazing stories from some people that have found cool stuff there. So if you happen to make a trip to Europe and you're near a cash converter, go check it out and just see what you might find. We also hit up a few thrift stores, which they actually refer to as charity shops, as I believe most of the charity shops over there have like a specific cause that they're raising money for, which is a really neat idea. But we sadly didn't really find more than a few PC games, some sports stuff, a lot of FIFA. But the other cool thing about this whole trip too was that Felix actually found a ton of stuff that isn't nearly as easy to find in Denmark, where he lives. It was really nice to see Felix and his partner so excited to see all of these video games in the wild. And especially in the age of digital goods, I was glad that Felix was still buying physical stuff to collect and play. Man, I want to get back out there and shop for some video games again. It was so fun. Oh, and we did go to Paris as well. We went to the Louvre. So of course we swung by the Louvre gift shop looking for the 3DS game, and sadly they didn't have it available for sale anymore. However, if you wanted to still take a tour with a Nintendo 3DS and get that whole guided experience, you could still rent one. And even though we didn't have time to do that ourselves, there was somebody that did just that, and they were kind enough to let me film a little bit of their 3DS and check it out. Thank you again. That was really nice. So if you happen to find yourself in Europe, just magically, maybe you too have a job where you get to travel or you go on vacation, try, if you can, if you're huge into video games, set some time aside, because you might find some game that you've been wanting to buy forever here in the US, but it's super expensive here, but maybe it's cheap in Europe because maybe it has a different title or a cover art that people don't care for, or because it doesn't fit in with the North American collection. Like, yeah, I now own a copy of Castle Ween that is gonna look a little out of place on my shelf, and it's definitely not the easiest game to play or to get working. It was way cheaper than buying a copy of Spirits and Spells, and it's gonna be just as cool of an experience to play it, if not cooler, because I got it with my friends on a special trip that I will never forget. So feel free to let us know in the comments down below, If you've ever been to Europe, if you've ever bought any cool video games on a vacation there or on a vacation anywhere, let us know about the best vacation you ever went on that you bought a video game on. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, then I want you to promise me you will never take that subscribe button to a cash converter or a charity shop. Click on it and keep it in your pocket at all times because you never know when we're going to upload a new video. And if you hit the notification bell, then in turn, your pocket will probably ring when we put up a new video. And before I forget, John actually put together a video showing off what it's like trying to get a street pass in the year 2022 with Felix and I while we were on this whole adventure. And that's over at Good Vibes Gaming, so I'll leave a link in the description down below for that as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Zion from Nintendo Life. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.
Hey John, what'd you find?
I found the jackpot, the juggernaut, the game I've been searching for my whole life, man. I've been searching far and wide. I've gone to every car boot sale, every charity shop, every eBay auction ever made. And I finally found it. It's Connected Ventures. And inside, it's Connected Ventures. Called the Nintendo Connect.
Nintendo Connect?
Yeah, the very same.
You're gonna leave it for someone else though, right?
Yeah, when you search so far for a treasure, you found it. You reach self-actualization and you figure out that what you want's not really what you want, but it's for civilization to enjoy the pleasures that you've sought. So I want little Jimmy to enjoy it.
That's very, very kind of you.